Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my media feed. Well, here is my dashboard. Here is my profile. Here is my media feed. And here is my merchandise shop for people who want to purchase some Keys to the Road merchandise. You can create you an account on millions.co. Go to my profile, the key, go to my merchandise shop, and there you can purchase you some Keys to the Road apparel. Here is our brand new logo, part of our rebrand. And now we have got to get to what we all saw last night between the Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. Now, the New York Knicks have been on a tear. They've won 9 straight playoff games since losing game 3 to the Atlanta Hawks. And as you all can see, I watched the entirety of this game last night, and I was a little bit surprised at a few things that the Cavaliers did. I was, because Evan Mobley, he had a very efficient first half. And then he didn't take any shots in the second half. He's supposed to be one of the X factors. Why are the Cavaliers not passing Evan Mobley the ball in the second half? Donovan Mitchell, he had 26. James Harden had 18. But the fact of the matter is that the Cavaliers, they don't know how to stop Jalen Brunson, and they don't know how to stop Karl Anthony Towns. And as you all can see, once it got to a blowout, the Cavaliers started emptying out their bench, and I'm not going to waste any time going over their bench production because it's just a bunch of players that if it was a close game, they wouldn't have any playing time. So I'm not even going to get into the bench production for the Cavaliers. I'm going to get right down to the New York Knicks. Now, New York Knicks, I like what I saw from the New York Knicks starting five. Everything was balanced. You had Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson each have 19 points. OG Anunoby, the X factor that I have, and Karl Anthony Towns each had 14 points and 18 points respectively. And bench production, still, I'm not going to waste anybody's time with that because if the game was a little bit closer, even for the Knicks, the bench players, they would not have had much time to play, the bench players. So now we get back to this recap. The recap of this game, Knicks moved 2 wins from the NBA Finals with a 109-93 victory over the Cavs. Here's how everything started. Josh Hart scored a playoff career-high 26 points. Jalen Brunson had 19 and 14 assists. And the New York Knicks moved halfway to their first NBA Finals appearance since 1999 by beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 109-93 on Thursday night. Mikal Bridges also scored 19 points, and Karl Anthony Towns had 18 points and 13 rebounds to help the Knicks win their 9th straight game. That's the NBA's longest postseason winning streak since the Boston Celtics won 10 straight on their way to the 2024 championship. Hart went 5 for 11 from three-point range, burning a defensive strategy that seemed built around leaving him open from long range, and also had 7 assists. Now, what I'm going to say is Josh Hart, he is a defensive specialist, but there are some nights that he can catch fire like he did last night. Just a well of a game from Josh. Knicks coach Mike Brown said, 2 nights after rallying from a 22-point deficit in the fourth quarter, the Knicks made sure they would be in control late with an 18-0 run. In the third quarter, that gave them a 71-53 lead. Fans chanted Nixon 4, Nixon 4 in the final minute, long after the starters had gone to the bench. Now, here's one thing about the Cavaliers. They have allowed three of the largest runs in playoff history just in the first two games of this series. Do they have a chance at coming back? I'ma wait. I'ma wait until I get done with this to say that. In our mind, it's 0-0. We've got to win the next game. It's the most important game of the year. That's how we treat it, Towns said. Donovan Mitchell scored 26 points and James Harden scored 18 for the Cavaliers, who will have to climb out of a 2-0 deficit for the second straight round. They host Game 3 on Saturday. Nothing to hang our head about, Mitchell said. They protected home court, and we've seen this before going into Game 3. The Knicks are in the Eastern Conference for the second straight year, but haven't played in the championship since losing to San Antonio in 1999. Brunson scored 38 points and led the Game 1 comeback. He had only 2 points in the first half Thursday before making the first basket of the run that broke the game and finished with the highest assist total of his playoff career. Hart was benched for the rally in Game 1, playing just 3 minutes combined in the fourth quarter and overtime. The forward had been shooting just 26.7% from three-point range, and after a third straight miss, long range early Thursday, he put his jersey in his mouth and bit it, bouncing the ball hard in frustration 3 times, but he just kept firing. I knew I had to just keep shooting, and if I did, I'd be good, Hart said. Mitchell. Let's get to the Cavaliers and Mitchell. Mitchell got off to a slow start with just 7 points in the first half. Cleveland's got to get off to better starts, triggering more of the questions that followed Game 1 about whether he was injured. His three-pointer with 0.7 seconds left gave Cleveland a 27-24 lead after one. The Knicks led 53-49 at halftime. Cavs got the first 2 baskets of the third to tie it, but Brunson answered with a three-pointer to start an 18-0 run. He had 2 more buckets in the burst, and Hart hit a pair of three-pointers, the latter capping it to make it a 71-53, making it 71-53 with 5 minutes 36 seconds remaining in the third after the Cavs scored 5 straight. Hart made 3 more, another 3, and Towns restored the 18-point advantage. Cleveland cut it to single digits just under 8 minutes left, but ruined any chance of getting closer with poor free throw shooting, missing 10 in the game and finishing with 68.8%. The Knicks eventually pushed their lead to 19. It was difficult when not making shots, Harden said. It puts twice as much pressure on you defensively to get stops. Now, let's get to the Cleveland Cavaliers and let's get to the minutia of their problem. And for people who don't know what minutia is, go look it up. What I mean by minutia is the Cavaliers, they have all sorts of problems. Ever since the playoffs started, they've had all sorts of problems. They have had trouble stopping the 2 best players on the other team, their opponents, the opposing team's 2 best players. It was the same thing with R.J. Barrett and Scotty Barnes. It was the same thing with Detroit. They didn't have two best players. They just had Cade Cunningham. So they have experienced this before. If you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, Cavaliers experienced this in the first round against the Toronto Raptors. Now you're playing against a team in the New York Knicks that pretty much can just score like that and just blow you off the floor. And that is exactly what they did last night. They blew the Cavaliers off the floor, and you could see it in their efficiency. You can see in these statistics. The Knicks, they shot over 50% for the entirety of the game. 3-point shooting, they made 4 more three-pointers than the Cavaliers. They got to the free throw line significantly less than the Cavaliers, but the Cavaliers still lost this game. Then we look at turnovers. They didn't have as many turnovers. Both teams had 8 turnovers. Points in the paint, it was plus 18 for the New York Knicks. The largest lead, 19 in this game for the New York Knicks, and the largest lead was 6 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. James Harden has got to play better. Evan Mobley, he's got to get more touches, more second half touches. Donovan Mitchell, he's doing his best to try and keep the Cavaliers afloat. And Kenny Atkinson, he has got to start off the game much better. I don't know whether the Cavaliers have to do lineup changes or what. But the Cavaliers, they have got to do something in Game 3. They've got to do something in Game 3 to put themselves back in this series, because what I'm looking at right now, the past series where the Knicks went up 2-0 against the Philadelphia 76ers, and then they came out in Game 3 and pretty much set the tone in Game 3, and it was just over with in Game 4 because the Knicks, they were up by 35 at one point in Game 4 over the 76ers. Who knows? Is it going to be like that for the Cavaliers? Are the Cavaliers playing their last 2 games of the season at home? Or can the Cavaliers at least push this series to a Game 5? And if they can push it to a Game 5, all things are pointing to a Game 6 back in Cleveland. As you all can see, Game 4 is in Cleveland, Game 3 is in Cleveland, Game 6 is in Cleveland, and Game 7 is in New York. So, one thing that I'm going to say is that I'm going to give y'all a couple of clips, but it's not going to be much. It's probably just going to be 2 or 3 clips once we get to the fourth quarter, because the Cavs, they got it down to a 10-point game, but they could never get anything under 10. Well, there's the 8-point game, but they could never get anything close than that, because New York Knicks, they made timely shots when they had to. Now that was a timely shot right there to put it back up to 10 from Mikal Bridges. Here's Jalen Brunson. There's Josh Hart. OG Anunoby gets all the way to the paint, and that was 2 of the New York Knicks' 58 paint points. Here is the last few minutes of the game where the Knicks were up by 15 with 3 minutes left. There go Jalen Brunson, and it was pretty much good night, Irene. With that, they called the timeout. Kenny Atkinson called the timeout, and that is how you get a 109-93 victory. Game 3 is tomorrow night. Let's see if the New York Knicks can push the Cavaliers to the brink of elimination and take a commanding 3-0 lead. Teams that go up 3-0 in a playoff series, they win every time. It's 159-0. So the Cavaliers season is pretty much on the line, in Game 3. So let me shift on over to tonight's matchup. Tonight's matchup versus tonight's matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. The West Finals shift to San Antonio while the Spurs and Thunder deal with multiple injury concerns. Oklahoma City Shai Gilgeous-Alexander seems to have shaken off his now traditional Game 1 blahs. San Antonio's Victor Wembanyama is putting up numbers the likes of which haven't been seen in the Western Conference for about a half a century. The stars in these Western Conference Finals, they're being stars. It's supporting casts that are major concern for both teams. Game 3 of the West title series is tonight. Things having shifted to San Antonio, tied at a game apiece. The Spurs took Game 1 behind 41 points and 24 rebounds from Victor Wembanyama, and the defending champion Thunder got 30 points from Gilgeous-Alexander on their way to getting a victory in Game 2. We're probably most comfortable playing in front of our fans, Spurs guard Stephon Castle said after the Game 2 loss. I don't think we'll have any problem doing that. Mentally, I think we're all in a good headspace. We came here, won a game on the road, and they're a good team, and they responded. So now, we have a chance to play in front of our home fans, they said. Well, Stephon Castle said, it's not the mental side that either the Spurs or the Thunder should be worried about. It's the physical. There's a sprained ankle, a bad hamstring, a strained adductor, a shot to the thigh, and those are only the injuries that the world seems to know about. Not even taking into account the aches and pains that accumulated over the last 7 or 8 months. As expected, the West Finals are shaping up to be quite the battle. 2 battles, really. There's the obvious one, Thunder versus Spurs, the 2 best teams in the league this season vying for a spot in the NBA Finals. The other is those teams versus attrition, excuse me. Right now, attrition might be winning. It feels like that's always at this time of the season in every sport, right? You have to get to the end to give yourself a chance, Spurs coach Mitch Johnson said. And I think that's why we have continued to trust our depth, and guys have to step up when their name's called. Answer the bell, and be able to give us some quality minutes. Spurs all-star guard De'Aaron Fox has an ankle sprain that's not fully going away until after the season ends. His replacement, Dylan Harper, grabbed at his hamstring in Game 2 and departed early. The Spurs said Thursday it was an adductor strain. The Thunder guard Jalen Williams aggravated his problematic left hamstring in Game 2, and his replacement, A.J. Mitchell, was shaken up by a thigh issue in the final moments. Fox and Harper are both listed as questionable for tonight's Game 3, as is Williams. Mitchell wasn't even on Thursday's injury report, a sign that he's good to go for Game 3. The Spurs won Game 1 largely because Harper stepped up. The Thunder won Game 2 largely because Isaiah Hartenstein was a huge factor, both in terms of physically and production. Far as out of this world great as Gilgeous-Alexander and Wemby are, there will be X factors that decide games and perhaps the series. I think it's a privilege, said Hartenstein, who had 10 points and 13 rebounds in game 2. You dream of playing in big games like this and playing a game against another great team. It's always something really special. Again, I heard somewhere that pressure is a privilege. And so I think just being in the series where the pressure is so high, just trying to go out there and enjoy competing is always something really important. Gilgeous-Alexander struggled big time in game 1, shooting only 7 for 23, the sixth time in the last 7 game 1s in which he's failed to make half of his shots. But his rhythm was clearly back in game 2, which is what he expected. I just I just have sucked when I get too long of a break. Gilgeous-Alexander said, I don't think it's anything other than that. Wembanyama has 62 points and 41 rebounds so far this series. Others have more points in the first 2 games of the conference finals, but nobody since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1974 have had at least 60 points and 40 rebounds through 2 games in this round. I can think of a few down moments for myself, especially in the fourth quarter. Wembanyama said after game 2, the series to this point couldn't be closer. Besides the obvious 1-1 tie in these games, the winning team in both has finished with exactly 122 points total points for this series. Thunder 237, Spurs 235. The Thunder is only leading this series by a basket, America. Both teams had a 8-0 run in game 1. Both teams had an 11-0 run in game 2. The Thunder have made 30 three-pointers. The Spurs have made 29 three-pointers. The Spurs are shooting 46%. The Thunder are shooting 44%. Here are the big differences. The Spurs have 25 more rebounds, but 19 more turnovers. Castle had a highlight reel dunk over Hartenstein in game 2, but has been played by 20 turnovers in the 2 games. And if the Spurs backcourt remains thin, the pressure on Castle will only ramp up this weekend. You've got to be aggressive against us, Thunder coach Mark Daigneault said. But if you're over aggressive, we'll make you pay. And that is the one thing about the Thunder. You can do everything perfect, and they still make you pay. The Thunder still make you pay. But here's one thing about the Thunder. It's been a while since the Thunder have won a road game in San Antonio. It's been a little bit over a year. The Oklahoma City Thunder's last win on the road in San Antonio was a 146-132 victory over the Spurs on March 2nd of 2025. So now we look at recent road matchups in San Antonio for the Thunder. Since that March 2025 game, the Thunder have struggled to find a win at the Frost Bank Center. In their 2 most recent regular season matchups to San Antonio during the 2025-26 campaign, the Spurs defended home court successfully. February 4th, 2026, Spurs won 116-106, and December 23rd of 2025, Spurs won 130-110. So, can the Oklahoma City Thunder get a win on the road in this series? Yes, I believe that they can. But it is going to be a tough task because we know that the Spurs, they have a hostile environment, and the Spurs have one of the best home crowds in the NBA and even in these playoffs. So, what are the Thunder going to do tonight? And what can they do in game 4? Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama. He need to be on Victor Wembanyama for the majority of for the rest of the series. And if it's not him, Jalen Williams. You can put both Jalen Williams on Victor Wembanyama. But you need somebody to neutralize Wembanyama's Wembanyama's hand on this game because the first 2 games he scored over 60 points in combined in the 2 games, and it looks like it's gonna be the same exact thing for game 3. Now in game 2, Wemby he only had 21 points, and it was a quiet 21 points too. But there is one domino that I haven't got into yet, and it's critical for the Spurs. If Dylan Harper is hurt and De'Aaron Fox is hurt, the Spurs, they need a point guard in order to win this series. They do. It's not looking good for the San Antonio Spurs right now at the point guard position. Now, the Spurs, they may need a Herculean effort from Victor Wembanyama, 45, maybe 50 points tonight in order to win, because without a point guard and without a valuable shooting guard, the Spurs are at a disadvantage already. They are. So one thing that I can say, this is going to be an entertaining game. It is. It's going to be an entertaining game. And now, one thing, we got 2 storylines going into this game tonight. What can the Spurs do because the Spurs are undermanned? And can the Oklahoma City Thunder get a win in San Antonio for the first time in a little bit over a year? And now for game 3, according to DraftKings, the Spurs are a 1.5 point favorite. According to Hard Rock Sports Bet on my other computer over here, the Spurs are a 2-point favorite. And with every other sports book, it's pretty much the same 1.5 or 2 points, give or take. But I expect a entertaining game. And it's hard to say who will win game 3. Only thing I can say, America, is just watch game 3 and let's just enjoy a good Wild Wild West offensive shootout, because we don't have another offensive shootout when it comes to the Thunder and the Spurs. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This game, as with every game in this series, has come down to the last shot, and it's going to come down to a last shot again. It's going to. And with that, those are my reaction to the Eastern Conference, my Eastern Conference game 2 reaction with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, and my game 3 preview of the Western Conference Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my merchandise shop. Anybody who wants to purchase some Keys to the Road merchandise, you can create you an account on Millions.co. Go to my profile, go to my merchandise store, and you can purchase you some Keys to the Road apparel. Here is our brand new logo, part of our rebrand. Here is my media feed so that you can see all of my previous sound bites, clips, and different segments from previous shows. And remember, everybody, one last thing: the key is always on time.